but our friends and our family too. It can bring on some signs of depression, anxiety, anger, problems concentrating or staying on task. I'm not sure about you guys, but that's happening to me a little bit more frequently than I would like, and some isolation. COVID-19 has altered our daily schedule. Some folks are working remotely. Some kids are home. Some kids are going to school. It's hybrid. So, it's really changed our activities of daily living, which may cause some problems in our sleeping habits and our eating habits. Obviously changed our social habits and some of our supports. It may worsen some of our physical and or mental health issues. Sometimes we get this information overload. There are rumors or misinformation at times that are spread out there that can cause us feelings of being overwhelmed or uncertainty. And then we've got questions. How much longer is this going to last? We've been in this thing for close to a year now. And what will the future hold for me and my family? People who have or have had COVID-19 are reporting an increase in depression, post-trauma symptoms, and post-intensive care syndrome. For those of you that aren't familiar with post-intensive care syndrome, it's a collection of physical, mental, emotional symptoms that hang on even after a patient leaves the intensive care unit. Those folks may not return to their normal functioning for weeks or months or even years due to the shock and the trauma there. Folks that have a pre-existing mental health condition, they have reported an increase in symptom intensity and insomnia. I asked our data person with volunteer to pull a few numbers for me for our Upper Cumberland region from 2019 to 2020. And we've shown an increase in first-time appointments, and we've also shown an increase of about 4% of increase in services that we've provided both to adults and to children. The majority of folks that we have enrolled in services have had a diagnosis of major depressive disorder. That was number one. Anxiety disorders, which would include post-traumatic stress disorder, and then bipolar disorder. So a couple of things that we can do to kind of help ourselves and others are know some signs of those mental health conditions, predominantly the anxiety disorders and depressive disorder. So anxiety is a feeling of apprehension, you're concerned, feeling of dread. You may feel tense or jumpy, have some irritability, restlessness, may anticipating the worst, and always watchful for signs of danger or something terrible to happen. Physical symptoms could include pounding or racing heart, shortness of breath. Some folks report sweating. They may twitch. They may have a tremor. Headaches, fatigue, insomnia, upset stomach. So some signs of depression, change in sleeping habit, change in appetite. That could be loss of or increase in sleep or appetite. Problems with concentration, a loss of energy, feeling fatigued most of the time, a lack of interest in activities that folks once usually enjoyed or participated in, feelings of hopelessness, guilty thoughts, change in movement, less activity and maybe some more frequent agitation, physical aches and pains, and possibly some suicidal thoughts. So how do we manage all of this? Well, we need to really be observant and cognizant of ourselves. So knowing the symptoms, knowing yourself, how you feel emotionally and physically is helpful, and be observant of others, especially your family members, friends, maybe folks that you haven't been able to see in a while, because it's always good to be able to lay eyes on folks, because then you kind of get, a visual of maybe how they're feeling. We need to talk to folks, talk to our kids, talk to other people about their concerns, and then maybe be able to share some of ours. And it's really important when we're going to share information that we make sure that we share the most accurate information, things that we've researched that we know have come from a valid source. I don't know about you folks, but for me, I really have to kind of limit the media and the news exposure, because I noticed with the election and COVID and other things that have been going on, it started to cause me a little bit of anxiety. So I'm trying to limit that a little bit. I know you hear this, but exercise is great for everything. It releases all these wonderful endorphins. It makes us feel good. It helps reduce anxiety. It helps reduce depression. It makes us feel productive. A healthy diet is also very important to our overall general good health. And then stay connected. Stay connected to the folks that you care about in your support system. Relaxation is great. We want to be able to relax. Sleeping is tremendously important. Sleep deprivation is horrible. It causes us to be irritable. It causes our mood to be poor. We lose productivity when we don't have adequate sleep. So some good sleep hygiene techniques are try to go to bed about the same time. Be sure your room is quiet, it's dark, no electronic devices in there. And if you can, shut those off about an hour before you try to go to sleep. Avoid large meals before bedtime, avoid caffeine, and avoid alcohol. And then if you can see my picture, if you've got a sweet baby like that to snuggle up with, I'd try to do that too. So continuing on how to manage this, remember what you can control. There are a lot of things out there that we have absolutely no control over. And I know that's difficult for us, but just focus on what you can control. Try to set reasonable goals. Try to keep a regular schedule. Stay busy. Get distracted. It's okay to be distracted sometimes. Mindfulness techniques are wonderful. Find a good sitcom, read a book, do a crossword. Try to combat some of those negative thoughts. Be positive. Try to think positive. For me, I always try to think of something that I'm thankful for. Today's a great example. A group of folks that care about our kids and our community, and we're gathering today to share information. Take time to laugh. The Reader's Digest is right. Laughter is the best medicine. And call your healthcare provider if you notice some symptoms or you're not feeling like yourself. This is just a little graphic about some types of self-care. I'm going to leave that up for a minute. I don't think y'all probably need me to read that to you, but self-care is very important. And self-care is not self-indulgence. It's about self-preservation. So we got to be able to take care of ourselves to take care of other people. So how can we help our kids manage all of this stuff? Because this is a lot of stuff for them. We need to talk to them about COVID, just the facts. It's probably a good idea to learn what they already know. Validate their feelings. We're all confused at times. We all may have some fear and concern. And that's okay to validate that for them, because they need to know that their feelings are being recognized and appreciated. Maintaining a routine or trying to implement a new routine, that's fine, but routine is great. Kids really they may tell you they don't like routines, but they really do like them. We want to try to keep them busy. We want to help them stay healthy along with ourselves. There are some great resources out there for our kids with all kinds of activities. I've listed those here through the CDC. There's resource kits, activities, conversation starters if you don't know how to start a conversation. There's games by age group. There's coping skills. Mental Health America also has some really good tools that you can review and access. And if you don't know where to go get help, the best place usually to start is your primary care provider. There are community mental health centers here in the Upper Cumberland. If you have a trusted counselor, or for your kid, maybe the school counselor, a pastor, self-help groups, support groups, there's even online therapy. Just make sure that is one that's accredited. Here are some crisis numbers in our area. For adults, you see that number, 800-704-2651. For children, 866-791-9223. We have a crisis walk-in center for adults that's located at Plateau, which is 1200 South Willow. There are the crisis and the text lines for the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. For folks that don't have insurance, some of the community mental health centers, I know for ours, we received a COVID-19 behavioral health care grant, and that is for adults who don't currently have a insurance provider for behavioral health care. Folks can call our first-time appointment line to get more information on that. There's the Behavioral Health Safety Net for adults, and now for kids. That rolled out in the fall. So those are for folks that don't have TennCare or a behavioral health insurance provider. There are some qualifications and requirements that have to be met on that. There's the Tennessee Recovery Project that can help link folks to resources if they don't have those. That's 833-954-2424. These are a list of references that I used to put together the presentation today. If you have any questions or comments, this is my email address, so feel free to email those questions or comments to me. I'll do my very best to answer or get information out to you as quickly as I can. And I'd like to thank you today for allowing me to present. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Please stay warm and please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, for that information so we know what signs to look for and tips to help us manage better. We now have Melanie Bustle. She is the Student Services Supervisor for Putnam County Schools. Welcome, Melanie.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, could not get that to unmute. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how COVID has affected the children and the teachers in the school system. We're very blessed in Putnam County. The teachers have pulled together. We have worked really hard to make sure that students have been able to be in school for the whole school year, which is amazing to us. That was a goal we set. We weren't sure if we were going to make that, but so far so good. The students, the parents, the community, we just all pulled together, and it's really been an amazing year in our school system. So just so you know, there's just some highlights here about some things that have changed because of COVID-19. The nurses in our system, their responsibilities have definitely intensified. We do the screenings each morning and identify students that need to be evaluated. We have isolation rooms where those evaluations take place with the student and the nurses. Then lots of new communication going home to families. If their student does need to go home and be quarantined, or at least go to the doctor to let us know if they need to quarantine. A new thing for us is the dashboard. I just want to give a shout out to Brandon Smith. He created the dashboard that the school system is using for the public. It is amazing. Every time something happens that doesn't work, we can call on Brandon. He helps our nurses get it back up and running so we can keep our data as up to date as possible. So the nurses work really hard to have all data entered by the end of the day. Of course, the cleaning and sterilizing, all those areas are very important, and they are responsible for that. And then, of course, they have their normal nursing duties. We service a lot of students with asthma and epilepsy and diabetes and just daily medications. So I just want to thank our nursing staff with the Putnam County School System and Janet Frank, our nursing coordinator. They have really pulled together. I can't speak enough about our teachers. Of course, they've taken on the responsibility for daily temperature screenings, the questionnaire, of course, that our students answer every morning. The teachers get them to do those so that way our nurses know who really does need to be evaluated so we can try to keep everyone safe. The teacher duties have increased because they have to not only plan for their face-to-face students, but they have to plan for their students that end up in quarantine. In the beginning it was a 14-day quarantine, and now it's a 10. But they have to make sure that those students can access the curriculum while they're out and be able to stay up to par with everyone else in the classroom. In the very beginning of the year, we had teachers who were actually having to teach remote learners and face-to-face, and that was very difficult. And in the beginning, we made some changes on that. So we do now have identified remote learning teachers that are just focusing on those kiddos who are deciding to stay home. But it's been very difficult to maneuver sometimes, but like I said, they have stepped up and they do an amazing job, and the remote learning lessons are phenomenal. Of course, we had to go through and create the mask mandate. We worked with the physicians in our community and we talked through, and of course the board voted to do the mask mandate. So of course for students and teachers and administrators in the building, everyone was really concerned in the beginning about that, but the kids stepped up. We have not missed a beat. There's not been discipline issues. Our kids have been very receptive to this, and it's just like a normal day. You walk in and everybody's functioning and doing as always, but they all have on a mask. The social emotional learning for students and faculty and staff have definitely increased. My team at the Student Services building, Jackie Reynolds, Cindy Putnam, Chrissy Hunt, and Sheila Barker, they are going into the schools and they've provided 3 lessons up until this point, but 4 on that self-care piece that Ann was talking about that is so needed. They're going in and giving tips. We are surveying teachers and students. What do you need? How can we help you? Through COVID in our office, we picked up at least 400 families through a survey that needed food. So the social emotional side for us is very important, and we're just trying to meet the needs of the whole child while we are living in this pandemic. Our social distancing, of course, caused us concerns in the beginning. We were not using cafeterias, social distancing in the gym and the car lines and all the kids on the bus. So those were things that early on were concerns, but we as a team have worked through all of those. Our administrators and teachers at our buildings, all that has been flawless. They just work really hard and they've made it work. Teachers did have to have lunch in their classrooms, of course, and so that was a change for everyone. We've tried to keep students in cohorts so we could look at, keep that social distancing and then be able to help if someone were to be sick, that we could, help the health department monitor and look at that to see if there were kids who needed to be quarantined and those type things. Substitute teachers, we have hired on a lot of substitute teachers because in the beginning we did have staff out that had either been exposed or were positive. And so substitutes have been a problem getting enough, a couple of days. But overall, it's amazing how this community comes together. Our school board members have gone in and covered classes. Our administrators are teaching classes when there needs to be someone fill in, supervisors from the central office. So once again, it's been a team effort so we could stay in school. Loss of face-to-face collaboration time and plan time for teachers, not being able to come together and plan. But Zoom has been our friend, so we have worked really hard to still be able to collaborate. It's just not in those face-to-face meetings. Most of our meetings have gone virtual, and our parent engagement events have also gone virtual. But what we've realized with that is we've actually picked up and gained some more parents who are attending and participating through those virtual meetings, and because they don't have to drive in, they can just get home and then log in to participate. So that's a positive that we've realized, that we'll offer face-to-face when the time comes, but there may also be a virtual opportunity for families to log on. I just want to show a couple of pictures on the dashboard that we are using. This is the public dashboard that you should be able to access through our Putnam County School System's website. The link is there. This just gives you an overall view of schools and how many confirmed positives we have at the time, what that percentage is, how many kids are in isolation and are quarantined at the time. These numbers fluctuate daily. Like I said, the nurses are the one who go in and keep this information updated. So as they get that information and they're doing their job, they're trying their best to get all that in by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is a total impact for the school year. This is from July until now. I think I pulled this earlier in the week, but we've had a total of 1,008 confirmed positives. That's staff, faculty, students, all combined. That's an 8.77% positivity rate. Of course, we have quarantined 4,250 students, which that's 36%. So, but overall, most of the time, I think our highest, which I'll go to the next one, we had a pretty high peak in December right before we got out of school. I think we had 160 or 70 positive cases. But since we came back, that number, that 18 that you saw on that page, we're fluctuating 18 to around 30, maybe 40, but it's staying in that range. We really have averaged overall probably around, I would think, 50 to 60. Is probably what our average would be if you took that. What I would like you to look at on the case trends is there are 35 families or students or faculty members who have said that they felt like they contracted COVID in school, whether that be in a classroom or in a sporting event, something along those lines. If you look over here, contracted outside of school is the majority. You do have some unknowns here, but most of the cases that we have dealt with and our nurses have worked with, it has came from the outside. It's in their family, someone, their grandparents or their aunt, uncle. Most of the time, it is coming from outside of the school system. So that's why we've been very blessed to be able to stay in, and we just hope we can keep that going and get through. I want to thank you again for letting me present today, and if you have any questions for me about any of these things, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you, Melanie. Next, we'd like to introduce Felicia Harris, Regional Administrator with the Department of Children's Services. Welcome, Felicia.
Thank you, Martha, and good morning. First of all, thank you for having me. Let me see if I can share my screen here. There we go. So, like everyone else, this year with the pandemic and in our agency, we face so many challenges, and, we continue to face things every day as they come up. But one of the things that we continue to do is to ensure that our children are safe, that we're meeting their permanency and well-being needs. Our staff haven't stopped. Our doors have never been closed. We are out in the field just like we always have been. And I'll talk about some of the more challenges later in the presentation. I wanted to share with you on the second slide some of the changes since last year. We have we've had some restructure in our region of how we're serving our families. Office of Child Safety is under one program now, Jamie Greenlam is the director. In some of those changes of how we respond, so I'll go over those quickly. We have a Snippet Team now, which is something different than we had last year with our redesign. This program basically just works with our severe abuse cases, our child death, our near death, and our physical abuse. We also have a pair team, and that's something that has changed. When we have school personnel, a daycare, mental health providers, medical providers, when they are calling in a referral for children of 8 years old and younger with physical abuse, we are now responding to those cases in 4 hours or less. One of the other changes is our drug teams. These are 2 separate specialized teams, basically with the focus on, addiction and recovery, ensuring that, we're putting intense interventions in there when we can safely keep the children at home. And then we have a specialized team that is only working with our 0 to 3 month old children. For child programs, this is the program that I oversee, and this is our dependent neglect and unruly population, kinship care, our adoptions, foster parent support, and our family support services. And then our other program area is our juvenile justice. Lisa Earls is the director, and this is our delinquent population where we serve custodial children, and we also serve children on probation and diversion. The next slide, I just wanted to give you an overview of what our custody numbers look like in 2020. So we pretty much ended around the same as we started. And, you can see in April, which is expected with child abuse awareness, our numbers typically increase around April. And then you can see that we have an increase again around September and October, and that is typical when school starts back in, that we'll see a rise in the numbers there. For foster care by county, and this is as of the beginning of this month, and this just gives you an idea to see what these custodial numbers look like per county. One of the differences that we've seen in a couple of counties, we have continued to rise in the Warren County area, and we've also seen a rise in our Fidris County area, where we've been able to see a decrease in Cumberland. And as of course, going back to this slide, you can see we have, from January and February, we have actually increased, and as of February, we now have 741 children in custody, and these are our foster care children only. For our juvenile justice population, with the pandemic, if that's the cause, our juvenile justice numbers have greatly decreased. As of this month, we only have a total of 41 children in custody for a delinquent adjudication, which is great, but this is very low in comparison to what these numbers typically look like. As far as probation and diversion, these have greatly decreased as well, probably due to the Supreme Court ruling and us not being in court. But as you can see, we only have 121 children currently that we're serving on probation and diversion. The next slide, I just wanted to give you an overview of, and this is for October through December. These numbers typically look the same throughout, previous quarters, but as you can see, the majority of the reason that children are entering foster care is due to drug abuse by the parent. This model only includes 90% of the reasons that children entered. If they were 10% or lower, I didn't include those. So it could be that, children enter care due to drug abuse of a parent, but these numbers would also represent, if there was neglect or truancy or physical abuse. But the model basically shows the majority of kids that are entering are related to drug abuse. The next slide, I just wanted to give you some demographics to give you an idea of the settings that our children are placed in. And this slide will also show 26% of our children are placed in a kinship placement. This is something that we're very proud of. Upper Cumberland has pretty much always led the state for past years in placing kin with family. Anytime we can reduce trauma and place children with kinship. This doesn't necessarily mean grandparents, aunt and uncles. These are church families, teachers, coaches, neighbors. So anytime that we can place with family or kin to reduce trauma, that's always been our focus, and this definitely represents that. But 86% of our total kids are in a family setting. This next slide, it's really busy here, so I'll just kind of give you a breakdown. For 2020, of all of our exits, 127 children were finalized to adoptions. We had 165 families or children that were successfully reunified with their parents, and 126 children exited to permanent guardianship and or a transfer of custody to a kinship family. So the next slide will show our foster home recruitment. We could never have enough homes. Our region, right now, we're averaging around 330 homes, and I know that sounds like a lot, and it is, but we still need more. So like I said, just to give a breakdown, as you can see, we have more kids in certain counties than we have homes for. And, our practice and our goal is always to, if we can't put children in a kinship family setting, we like to keep them in their hometown, in their schools, their community. And so we're always working on recruitment efforts to meet the need of what our numbers of children are in care per county, so we can focus on keeping them within their community at all possible. And then the next slide, I just wanted to add to have out here, anyone interested in becoming a foster parent, anybody that you know that may be interested, please share and have them to reach out with us. Family support services, this is a number that we continue to increase on. This is a population of families that we are working with. The families, for the most part, are intact. It may not rise to the level of removal, but there's definitely a need for intervention. And so this is just a breakdown by counties to show if there was an intervention, there is high risk of abuse or neglect or removal. So as of right now, we're serving almost 200 families in the Upper Cumberland. And then I've attached information for Jamie Greenlam, the Director of Child Safety, and Lisa Earls. And then going back to, some of the challenges, like most of you are, that we're dealing with, making sure that we're not missing a beat on things, and we're continuing to run. But as far as permanency, now the numbers doesn't show that much of an impact, but moving forward, due to the Supreme Court ruling, in a lot of our courts, we're not able to have contested hearings. So we're hopeful that we won't see a delay in moving to permanency, but restricting some of those cases and not being able to have those hearings, that is a concern of ours. We are working, I think the court systems and us and everyone else trying to work on having these hearings by Zoom. It's been a challenge, but we're doing it and we're making things happen. But this definitely is a concern, not having those face-to-face hearings. Some of the other things that we've been dealing with is our youth that are in residential placements, them not being able to go on home passes, being limited in the facilities. We're working with the families as much as we can, to ensure video conferencing. We've also been doing that with our dependent neglected children, but that doesn't mean that's every case. We are still safely as possible providing face-to-face parent-child visits so they can maintain their bond and their relationship, and we can work with reunification. We've only had a few cases, but something that has been a challenge for us is our foster parents that may have been positive for COVID or having, children that have been removed in our office that are either under quarantine or positive. It's been a real challenge trying to find homes for these children. Luckily, we've been able to work through all of those. We've either been able to reach out to a foster family where they have a child that is positive for COVID or they've been positive and they've allowed that placement, or we've been able to find family members for them. One of the things that we continue to work with is just, we know that we have to continue to be in the field, keep our doors open, ensure children are safe. And so, our central office, I think, has worked very hard in communication, giving us the resources that we need to make sure that, our staff and our families are safe. But again, thank you all for having me, letting me have the time to talk.
Thank you, Ms. Felicia, for the update. It definitely helps for you to be transparent with everything that's going on. I'm going to be introducing Representative Kelly Kissling. He is in his 11th year serving the 38th House District in the Tennessee General Assembly. Currently, he is chairman, and he is also on 6 other committees. So that's a lot of stuff that he does on a day-to-day basis to make sure that everything works well for the people of Tennessee. In addition to his legislative duties, he serves on the board of directors of the Children's Center of the Cumberland in Oneida. He is member of the following chambers of commerce. So he is involved in Macon County, Clay County, Pickett, Fentress, and Scott counties. Representative Kissling and his wife Janet have been married for 49 years and are proud parents of 3 adult children, 7 wonderful grandchildren, and 2 beautiful great-grandchildren. They live in Birdstown and are active members of Ada Baptist Church. I turn this over to Christy or whoever is showing the video recording that we have from Representative Kelly Kissling.
Thank you, Representative Keisling. It is now my honor to introduce our next speaker, Representative Ryan Williams. Representative Williams represents the 42nd House District. He serves as chairman of the Finance, Ways and Means Appropriations Subcommittee. He is a member of the House Finance, Ways and Means Committee, the House Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee, the House Elections and Campaign Finance Subcommittee, House Health Committee, the Local Government Committee, and the Joint Pensions and Insurance Committee. Representative Williams was elected to the Tennessee General Assembly in November of 2010. During his tenure in the House of Representatives, he and his colleagues have balanced the state's budget, reduced sales tax twice, eliminated the death and inheritance tax, raised the deduction on the Hall income tax, and continued to work towards its total phase-out. Representative Williams has played an integral role in our General Assembly's total investment of $1.5 billion in K-12 education in recent years, as well as passage of the Tennessee Promise. He also successfully carried the Governor's Focus Act, which will eventually allow Tennessee Tech University to be fully autonomous, operating at the oversight of the TTU Board of Directors. As chairman of former Speaker Harwell's Task Force on Rural Economic Development and a governor's appointee to the Governor's Task Force for Rural Economic and Community Development, Representative Williams has left a direct and lasting impact on the policies driving job growth and investment not only in the 42nd District, but in all rural areas of the state. This has resulted in making Tennessee one of the best states for job growth in the entire country 3 out of the last 4 years. A former Carson Newman soccer standout, Representative Williams used his athletic abilities to become the first member of his family to obtain a college degree. When he is not serving in the General Assembly, he is the Director of Business Development for J&S Construction Company, which is located here in Cookeville. He is a third-generation construction professional with over 20 years of industry experience. His father and grandfather were general contractors in East Tennessee with a focus on private custom residence and small commercial projects. He grew up working on construction sites using a broom at first and later traded up to a nail bag and hammer. During his 21 years at J&S, Representative Williams has risen to the top of the company in new business development, and he has enjoyed unparalleled success in the management of design-build projects ranging from manufacturing, medical office, institutional, automotive, ecclesiastical, warehousing, and distribution facilities. The projects represent both single and multi-story facilities ranging in size from 5,000 to 550,000 square feet and in value from a few $1,000s to more than $9 million. Representative Williams has been married to his wife, Abby Bates Williams, for 24 years, and they have 2 children, Tyson, who is a freshman at ETSU, and Carson, who is a junior at Cookeville High School. Representative Williams' desire to serve his community has always been important to him, starting with his dedication to his church, the Cookeville Planning Commission, and as Cookeville City Councilman from 2006 to 2010. As a city councilman, he and his wife Abby started a series of events, including the After Dark movie series, which also features the After Dark Race for the Park 8K, After Dark Kids for the Park 1 Mile, and the After Dark Movies in the Park. The sole purpose of these events is to build community and raise money for the redevelopment of Dogwood Park. Representative Williams also enjoys supporting his son at soccer games and watching his daughter participate in ballet and theatrical performances. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present to you Representative Ryan Williams.
Oh, thank you, Amos, for that. Whoever sent that to you, please tell them that that was way too long, and now I owe you a gift card. But anyways, it's fun. But thank you for doing that, and thank you, Christy, for asking me to be on here today. Really excited about this event, as Kelly said before. Getting everyone together in the Upper Cumberland. It's been an interesting year, to say the least. It seemed last year when we convened, no one could have expected what we've seen over the last several months. But I will say it's always good to hear from Ann as it relates to the good work that she's doing there, as well as Felicia Harris as in her presentation today. I will say, Felicia, I would love, and I'm pretty certain most of my colleagues in the Upper Cumberland that Kelly communicated about would love to have a copy of that presentation. It was very thorough, and it's a very good look into what the results of the COVID situation are, not just in the state, but more importantly in the Upper Cumberland, where we all seek to serve. And of course, I get so many calls about the leadership skills and way in which Putnam County Schools is operating. It is exciting to see our school board and Corby King has been very progressive in their approach and has really led. I have shared what we're doing and what Brandon was doing with many other school districts across the state, and I'm happy to say that we are a model for education and how to kind of still thrive in this pandemic. And so I was asked to share a little bit about today. I want to take an opportunity also at the end to have some questions, if you will, but I thought I would catch you up on a few things. As Kelly said, that the governor presented some things that I'm working on and some things that I think impact not just because of COVID, but what's going on mental health in the Upper Cumberland. As was said, our children are extremely important. Each person on this call cares deeply about the children of our community and state. And so children is but I would say that children probably from a mental health capacity have been the hardest hit people group in our state. Close to our seniors, but more so because their lives have dramatically been changed. As you can see by Felicia's presentation, children in custody have, or entry into state custody have grown mainly because of behavior problems, from 8% to 20 to 28% of those coming in just in the last 3 months. A lot of that behavior challenge has to do with fatigue, really, from parents and students because they don't have, as Ann said earlier, a regular regimented schedule of school and class and after-school activities and those kinds of things. And it's been a great strain on the family. We've seen that the amount of domestic abuse, child hunger, and just an overall sense of loneliness among students and our youth is children and youth has been one of the most not discouraging but heart-wrenching parts of what's going on because of COVID. The good news is the legislature convened several weeks ago. The governor made a State of the State address about some of the priorities that he hoped to do. And then, of course, us individual legislators have a role to play as it relates to change and how we can impact adverse childhood experiences. I think Elizabeth Ramsey, who's on the call, and I and Senator Bailey have been working for several years to develop, not necessarily to develop a standard so much, but also to incorporate a social health curriculum in our schools. He and I are working with her and others as it relates to what this might look like and how it might cost for us to roll out a program that would be a part of our curriculum across the state. We also the governor created in his State of State some additional resources this year to improve a path to adoption for a lot of these foster parents and more importantly, these children. He's set aside quite a large sum of money to try to figure out a better way to do that, to shorten the duration of time in areas where we can to help place children in permanent homes. We all know that the evidence suggests that the quickest path to permanency for children is probably the best. Although we have done a great job of reuniting families together through the department, so it was interesting to see how that goes forward. Also, the governor and the legislature convened about a special session for education policy, which I think was very important. This literacy, this two components I think that impact what we do in the Upper Cumberland as it relates to children is overall literacy. Studies have shown that only 36% of children read at the level in which they are in school. So, for instance, only 37% of kids in the third grade actually read at the third grade level. Literacy is the key, really. And so the governor, along with the legislature, have purposed to set aside millions of dollars, new dollars, to try to improve literacy, not just to be better, but to be literally the best in the United States, because we really feel like this is an important part of what we do. And when a child learns well and reads well and participates well in school, their overall mental health, their view of themselves in the world improves. And so there was a study that was released that of those incarcerated from October of 2019 to October of 2020, only 7 of them read at a 12th grade level. 7%, at a 12th grade level. What that meant is that there was a direct path to incarceration sometimes when kids can't read, and the opportunities are very slim. But we also incorporated an opportunity for kids to remain in the classroom and to catch up from getting behind because of COVID by creating learning camps that were specific subject matter related. We did this and put $121 million behind it so that we could, for in essence, extend school through the summer by doing summer camps, much like Tennessee Tech would do for their summer STEM camps. And I feel like that this is going to go a long way into helping our students succeed. But I do think that one of the biggest challenges that we can continue to do is to love on our kids and give them opportunities to reestablish their this circadian pattern of what it means to be in school and out of school and in summer and not. I used to laugh about it before I got married. Abby was a scheduler and I am not, but I have no idea how I got into my 20s without being planner. But that's one of the things that school does for kids. It gives them an opportunity to plan and succeed. And so I think it's really important. A couple of things that are really important in the Upper Cumberland bills that I'm working on. One of the biggest challenges that rural Tennessee has right now is there's just not enough mental health resources. One of the things that I've done, and a little bit of that impediment is because the certificate of need process in the state prohibits mental health beds or mental health services until a certificate of need is presented. And so I have a bill this year that will allow certain rural areas of the state to not have to go through a certificate of need process. If they want to make an investment in our community to help meet the mental health services needs, then they can do that. They still have to submit an application, but they don't have to go through the long and rigorous process of going through the certificate of need. And I think that's going to give Ann and her group more stability as it relates to long-term mental health assistance. And so I think it's really important that we do that. We also are looking into ways in which we can get people the help that they need. We have a system now that doesn't allow for any mechanism to help or assist people get the help. I can tell you that I was knocking doors last year. I was headed to my home, and when I went underneath the interstate here at exit 286 where my office was, I looked up and there was a man standing on the bridge. And the fact is I pulled immediately over, ran up the off-ramp backwards with all my campaign staff in the truck, and I ran to the bridge to communicate with the guy, and he just didn't know where to go. and so was able to, quite frankly, he cussed me out for keeping him from doing that. But in the discussion with him, he was just lost, no direction, no opportunity. And so we had a quick discussion. He came down off the bridge, but we have to do something about the mentally ill that are hiding in our community. And so I hope to find ways to do that, in not just in the Upper Cumberland, but across the state. But I want to take an opportunity to say thank you for what you do for the kids, the children and youth in the Upper Cumberland. They truly would be lost without you and what you do. I know that most of you know that what you do is more of a calling than it is a profession, but you are professionals at it. And so I want to thank you for doing that. And so with that being said, I don't want to go on too long-winded. I know everyone wants to get back to hearing someone other than me probably, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box quickly, and we will read them to Representative Williams. Thank you.
I want to thank Representative Keisling and Representative Williams for sharing with their heart today about how they feel about the families and the children of our wonderful part of Tennessee. And I want to thank both of our representatives for their constant, compassionate support for the Tennessee Commission of Children and Youth. We could not do this without your all's leadership and without everyone on this discussion today working together to make sure that we keep children and their families at the forefront of every decision that we make. So thank you, representatives, for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with us. And now I'm delighted to introduce to you Tommy Nelson. Tommy is a fabulous yoga teacher from Cookeville, Tennessee, and we're going to have time to do a little bit of stretching. And if there are questions that come in, Representative Williams, you're welcome to stretch with us, but if there are questions that come in, we'll make sure that those are in your direction when they arrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here as part of your update on the COVID situation here in the Upper Cumberland. So I've been invited here to speak to you all about meditation, and then I noticed that Anne briefly touched on that in her presentation, and meditation can be a part of your self-care routine. And so I'm Tommy Nelson, and I am a slow and mindful yoga teacher here in Cookeville. And so I've just put this picture up so that you can see that you can meditate anywhere. It doesn't have to be in a group setting. You can do it by yourself inside your house or outside your house. And I have a little, yes?
I'm sorry, this is Gio. I assume you're sharing a picture?
Yes.
Can you reshare that? It's not showing.
I sure can.
I apologize for the interruption.
Okay, are we sharing now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So back to, here we go. There's my presentation. Okay, so I am Tommy Nelson, and I am the slow and mindful yoga teacher here in Cookeville. I also lead meditation, and I wanted to show this picture in a way to show that you can meditate anywhere, inside or outside. You can do it by yourself. You can also do it with a group. And here I have a quote about meditation. So Buddha was asked, "What have you gained from your meditation?" And he replied, "Nothing. But let me tell you what I have lost. I have lost my anxiety." Sorry. Here we go. Depression, insecurity, and fear of old age and death. So that's just a little something to think about, that meditation is not going to give you a whole lot of gains, but you are going to notice maybe you losing some of that anxiety that you carry around. So 3 things that are essential for a meditation practice are your willingness. So wanting to try to maybe try a meditation for the first time, wanting to experience that. Another one is your attention. So turning off your cell phones, your computers, your televisions, and having no distractions so that you wouldn't be interrupted. And another one is your focus. So I will be guiding you through a guided meditation here in a little bit, and when we come upon things, I'm going to have you focus on, let's say, your breath or a body part, and that'll be the focus portion of the meditation. There are many benefits of a meditation practice. A lot of the physical can be reducing your stress hormones. It can strengthen your immunity. Your blood pressure normalizes, and your heart rate comes back to a normal level. There are also other benefits and mental and physiological benefits, such as feeling calm, having more focus, more clarity, increasing your self-awareness and your self-esteem, and balancing your emotions. There are many other benefits as well. This next slide shows you one of my favorite benefits of a meditation practice, and it helps to build your nervous system resilience. And I have a little photo here of what a window of tolerance is. If you can imagine yourself as this red line, and above that is the hyperarousal point. So anytime you feel anxious or really excited, is that portion above there. And then below is your hypoarousal, times when you start to feel shut down or you don't feel very well. And you, on every given day, at any given point, you're either up at that hyperarousal or you're down low in the hypoarousal. So having a regular practice of meditation can help keep you right in the middle at that perfect arousal point where we're not too excited and we're not too feeling down on ourselves. And so now I would like to guide you all through some meditation. So if you would, begin to sit up nice and tall, planting your feet onto the floor, and allow your spine to be very tall. Imagine the crown of your head is reaching up towards your ceiling, feeling a nice elongated spine. Begin to draw your awareness in to your breath. Noticing the in and the out flow of air through your nose. And as we attend to the flow of the breath during this meditation, notice if your mind wants to move on to something else, the pull of wanting to fill your time or change what is happening. Try to sit patiently with the breath, with your awareness, to what is unfolding in each moment. Allow it to unfold without altering it, changing it, or imposing anything on it. Just breathe, embodying stillness and becoming present. Finding the nice rhythmic breath of breathing. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. Follow it in and follow it out. Begin to have noticing of if your breath is fast and shallow, or maybe your breath is slow and deep. Continuing to sit with your breath, let your breath begin to comfort and soothe you. Continuing to breathe at that nice free-flowing breath. As you're inhaling, you're drawing in air into the bottom lobes of your lungs. Allowing that oxygen to give that to every cell of your body. Continuing that nice rhythm, easy, free-flowing breath. Notice that even as we sit in stillness, there is movement taking place in the body. The shoulders might rise and fall with your breath. You may notice that the rib cage expands out to the left and to the right as you inhale, and as you exhale, it draws in towards the midline of the body. Now we'll begin to relax that attention a little bit away from the breath and come into our body now as I'm going to guide you through a body scan, beginning at the crown of the head, letting it run down now into the face, the cheeks, the jaw, down into the back of the neck and into the throat. Noticing now the shoulders, your collarbones, and your shoulder blades at the upper back. Bring your awareness into your arms, your upper arms, your elbows, your forearms, your wrists, palms, and fingers. Guiding your awareness now back into that upper body, noticing your rib cage, both sides of the body, the waist, your abdomen, and your back. Bringing that awareness now down into your hips, that awareness travels to your legs as you begin to notice your thighs, your hamstrings. Your knees, your shins and calves, into those ankles, the soles of the feet, and your toes. And now taking the entire body, noticing it as a whole, while you have a few rounds of breath, noticing how the body feels. Now let's begin to move into a bit of a mantra meditation. A mantra is simply a word or a phrase that you repeat to yourself. Today I would like to repeat, may I be happy. May I be safe. May my heart feel peace. Silently repeating those phrases to yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May my heart feel peace. Receive each of these with an open and kind heart. May I be happy. May I be safe. May my heart feel peace. savor each of these phrases. Now bringing your awareness back to your breath. Long and slow inhales, followed by long and slow exhales. Rest in the space that you have now created for yourself. You may choose to scan over the body for the duration of the meditation. You may choose to keep your focus on the breath, perhaps silently repeating to yourself, I am breathing in as you take your inhalation, or I am breathing out as you exhale. Or perhaps you continue with your mantra, may I be happy, may I be safe, may my heart feel peace. Remembering that it is perfectly okay when your mind begins to have other thoughts. Just acknowledge those thoughts, send them on their way, and return to whichever of those three meditations is calling to you today, the breath, the body, or the mantra. Having a meditation practice is not about being absent of thought, but just noticing where those thoughts come in and come back to your breath, your body, or your mantra. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Keeping the awareness with the breath, with your body and or mantra. You may even begin to notice where you have absent thoughts, where all you can notice is the breath. Remembering that there are no judgments on how this meditation should be for you. Just experience it. Allow it to unfold for you. Remember, you're welcome to adjust your positioning to stay comfortable as you sit with your breath in meditation. Long, slow inhalations, followed by long and slow exhalations. Finding that rhythmic, easy, free-flowing breath. Keeping the awareness on your breath, I invite you now to take a deeper breath into the lungs as you fill up all the way to the top, and gently and slowly exhale all of the air from the lungs. Continuing with that rhythmic now deeper breath. Inhaling, filling up the lungs all the way to the top. And slowly exhale all of that air. Completely empty all the air out before you take your next inhale. And now I'll invite you to take a brief pause in between your inhale and your exhale. So inhale, filling up all the way to the top, and pause for the count of 1. Then exhale all of that air. Again, completely get rid of all of the air before you take your next inhalation, taking that pause at the top for the count of 1. And now I will invite you to take another pause at the end of your exhale. So we'll completely inhale, fill up to the top, pause for the count of 1, and then expel all of the air and pause for a count of 1. And then continue with that inhale. Pause at the top for 1, and let it all out. Pause. 1, and finding that rhythm of breath now. And now we will increase that pause at the top and at the end of the breath for a count of 2. So when you feel ready, take that breath in, filling up, pause, 1, 2, and exhale. Pause, 1, 2. And now continue with that rhythm of breath. Inhaling at the top, pause for 2. Exhale at the bottom, pause for 2. Use your own rhythm of count. As you continue with this rhythm of breath, with the pause at the top and the bottom, begin to notice how your body responds, being full of air and holding that for a brief pause, and then notice how your body responds when you're void of air, pausing for that brief count. Gently now, releasing all forms of controlling the breath, return to your normal breathing pattern, inhaling and exhaling through your nose softly. Begin to check in with yourself. How are you feeling? How does the body feel? Maybe you're noticing some sensation in the body. Check in with your mental state or your energy level. Just noticing all that is there for you in this present moment. You can begin now to gently flutter the eyes open if they are closed. Perhaps let your head gently roll from side to side, taking your right ear to your right shoulder and your left ear to the left shoulder, gently going back and forth. Maybe even taking small head and neck circles if that's okay with your neck, rotating through your cervical spine. And now bringing some other movement now into the body, begin to rotate through your shoulders, taking shoulder circles to the back. And begin those shoulder circles now to the front. Another movement you can take is gently sway your entire upper body from side to side, as if you are a tree swaying in the wind, gently, as if you're moving your body through some water. So nice, easy movements. And then returning to stillness up into your seat. Remembering that at any time throughout your day, your week, if you start to feel any type of anxiety or nervousness, take some time for a meditation, which can be as short as 30 seconds to a minute of just deep breathing. Long and slow inhalations through your nose and long and slow exhalations through the nose. I thank you for letting me guide you through this meditation and sharing my love of meditation and the great benefits that can come your way with practice. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me concerning yoga or meditation. And I was happy to be here and support you all in your jobs so that you can do all that you need to do with more vigor than ever before. Thank you.
Hey, Amy, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? For some reason, I can't hear anybody. I don't know if they can hear me.
Mr. Grisham, Dr. Grisham, we can hear you, but I can hear Amy as well.
Okay. So how do I get to the slides?
I have shared, I've made you presenter. So at the bottom, there's a share button. It's a box with an arrow pointing up.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tommy. That was very nice. And Dr. Grisham, thank you for joining us this morning.
Happy to. I'm trying to find the slides. It says share content, screen 1. Is that where I go?
If it's on your screen, yes, it should pop up.
Okay. Let's see. So do you have the slides, or do you need me to pull them up?
I can pull them up if that will help.
No, I can pull them up. I mean, it's just I thought you all had them loaded.
We do have them, and I can pull them up, but I'll have to transition them for you.
Okay. Are you seeing that?
Yes, there it comes.
Okay. So I'm ready to go.
Okay, and I'll let you be. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I hate to follow that peaceful, wonderful talk, but I guess we can go to reality now. Can you see the slide of the virus?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's the COVID virus. And sadly, COVID deaths have now exceeded deaths from heart disease and cancer on a daily basis. So it's still bad. It may be getting a little better, but it's still bad. And the headlines we see every day, it's gone from bad to worse, accelerating out of control, life and death. So the question is, how many cases of COVID have been diagnosed in the United States in the last year? We've had 28 million cases of COVID. The first 13, 14 million were in the first 8 or 10 months. And in the last 3 months, we've gotten the other half. So it's still very, very common and scary. And almost 500,000 Americans have died from the illness. I'm sure everyone has known someone who's died from COVID, probably someone very young. It used to be said that the children were maybe protected from COVID, but now we know that over 2.5 million children have had COVID, which has increased. And in the second week of January, it was over 200,000 children were diagnosed with COVID. So in Tennessee, we've had 750,000 cases of COVID. 11,000 people have died in the last year. We at the health department offer COVID screening every day. We are now offering it through a process called Everly Well, where we hand you a kit and you can do the kit at home. You seal it back up and mail it in. We also do periodic PCR testing where they swab your nose. But the emphasis now is on vaccinations. We've contacted county mayors, pastors, preachers, school superintendents, we still recommend masking, social distancing, and the vaccine. But the mask is the critical thing, and staying apart. I'm not sure how you all are situated now, but I'm sure most of us are seeing it by WebEx. Both vaccines are incredibly effective, 95%. So if you receive the second vaccine, 2 weeks after that, you've reached a 95% effectiveness. That doesn't mean you won't get the illness from COVID, but it probably means your risk of getting it drops dramatically, and also your risk of getting very sick and dying from it drops very, very much. So the Pfizer shot is 21 days apart. The Moderna shot is 28 days apart. They're coming out with a new vaccine, hopefully in the next few weeks, where it's a shot only one time. Its effectiveness is 75%, which, doesn't sound as good as 95%, but those people that were on the trial that took the once shot, none of them were hospitalized or got seriously ill. They may have gotten the COVID infection, but they had a mild form of it. So Tennessee has vaccinated almost 1 million of its citizens, and 1/3 of these have received the second shot. That's still, 1 million. That's probably a little over 10% of a population. I think Tennessee has 6.9 million people in it, but we're doing better than most states. So if you get the second shot, you're fully protected 2 weeks after the shot, the 95% effectiveness. And just as a, quick summary, COVID is just an acronym for coronavirus infectious disease. Corona means crown, because if you cut the virus in half, it looks like a crown. It's a group of 7 viruses. 4 of them just kind of produce the common cold, but 3 have been terrible. Some of you may have remembered SARS back in 2003, which was basically limited to the Middle East and Asia. Then a few years later, we had MERS, and now we've got COVID. So the coronavirus mutates every 8, 9, 10 years. So hopefully this will be the worst we've ever had, but you never know. Symptoms typically occur 2 to 14 days after exposure, but you may not have any symptoms. 40% of the people that have the COVID infection don't know they've got it. Some people, we've had nurses at the health department, they feel like they've got a runny nose and allergies, and they had the COVID infection and they were infectious and contagious. So the typical symptoms, fever, chills, cough, shortness of breath, but then, we have people losing their taste and smell. Some people just get nauseated. Some people have diarrhea. But if you develop any emergency warning signs, which is trouble breathing, chest pain, confusion, hard to arouse, you call 911 and you get to the hospital. People that are older, people that have underlying medical conditions have it worst. That's why those people have gotten the vaccine earlier. People in over 80, 85 just are particularly vulnerable. So, you can see a situation where a grandmother picks up her little second grader grandson, and he maybe have a snotty nose like most of them do anyway, and she could get COVID and get seriously ill. So hopefully most of this population has already been vaccinated. But the people with kidney disease, lung disease, people that have had a transplant, people that are overweight are at increased risk for COVID complications. Heart disease, diabetes, diabetes affects 10% of the population. Then there's this fella, he's Nick Cordero. You may have heard of him. He's a Broadway star. He had no risk factors for COVID. He had no diabetes, happily married, didn't smoke, nothing. He got COVID, was on a ventilator for 3 months. During that time, he had a heart attack, he had a stroke, He lost a leg because of a blood clot, and they were setting him up for a double lung transplant when he died from COVID at 42. So, wash your hands every day still, the 20 seconds. Hand sanitizer is okay, but there's nothing that beats soap and water. You wear the mask. Now they recommend wearing 2 masks or the N95 mask if you're out, at Kroger or Walmart or Sam's. But the vaccine is what's going to be the critical thing. So I hope you all consider getting the vaccine. Any questions?
Can you all hear me now?
Pardon me?
I was just asking if everyone could hear me now. Did anyone have any follow-up questions for Dr. Grisham?
I think everybody's asleep after that last talk.
Well, I think that's what happened during the time I was going to introduce you. I think my computer decided it was still on meditation. So thank you so much, and I'm sorry I didn't get to introduce you, but thank you for sharing about COVID and things to be particularly aware of, and just how uncertain our time is right now. But thank you for the work that you do. And also just wanted to follow up and tell Tommy, thank you so much for leading us in that guided meditation. I know that many of you are doing beautiful and wonderful work for our community and for those that desperately need it. And it's really easy for our calendars to dictate what we do, because we just want to pour so much into everyone else. And I think that was a really, really great reminder that if we don't take time for our own mental health, and also talking about what Ann mentioned as well, that we're not going to be in the best position to be able to help others. And I just thank all of you for all of the work that you do, and all of our great speakers. We really appreciate you. All right, Christy?
Thank you, Amy, for those words. I appreciate that greatly. I'd like to once again thank Ann Stamps, Melanie Bustle, and Dr. Grisham for sharing pertinent information with us about the immense impact of COVID on health, education, and the mental health arenas. It truly has touched all of us, so I'm very appreciative of that. I'd like to thank Representative Williams and Representative Kissling for being part of our event today. We appreciate their time and words. I was so touched by Representative Williams' account of his personal encounters of those with mental health and how it's affected our community. So a special thank you for him for being with us today. Tommy, I know that was wonderful. I know it was much needed, and I know I'm set for the day after hearing about your meditation, taking us through that. It was just wonderful. So I'm in a good place. So thank you for that. Would also like to say that I hope to see you at our next event, the Opportunity in the Midst of a Pandemic, on February 26th. I will be emailing out certificates of attendance next week. We have a phenomenal council. I'm thankful to be part of it. I'm thankful to be part of all the advocacy efforts here in the region, and extremely thankful for each one of you and the work you do for children and families. A special thank you to the legislative committee members and our board members for hosting this event today, and I appreciate all the work that they do with the council. This concludes our program, so please take very good care of yourself, and have a great weekend.